Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Your Spiritual Journey. This is Dr. Bob, and this is the space and the place where we talk about things important to your soul. As always, we ask you to like us, leave comments, maybe even support us on Patreon. All of that helps keep us on the air. Today's guest is coming to us from Vancouver Island in Canada. She is Betska K-Burr. She's a #1 Amazon best-selling author of I Heal Me, and the rest of that title is Personal Journeys of Healing, Wisdom, and Tools to Heal Emotional, Physical, and Spiritual Trauma. But it's not just another do-it-yourself good health book. Betska is the author of many books, including Creating Champions, Flying by the Seat of Your Plans, Building a Booming Business, The God in Coaching, The Key to a Happy Life, and many others. She's the co-president at Coaching and Leadership International, Inc. She's the developer of an 80-plus award-winning methodologies called the Science of Mind-Kinetics coaching system. She's the lead trainer since 2000, reaching coaches and leaders worldwide on 5 continents. She's an accredited master coach, named 2019 and 2020 top 100 global management consultants by CEO Today magazine, coach and confident to individuals and groups in 50-plus countries. She's the co-host of the podcast Mindful Leadership Beyond Borders. And she lives with her husband, John, and daughter, Tanya, and family. Betska is an avid gardener, loves to hike and create healthy vegan food for her family, and has an undeniable weakness for dark chocolate, as many of us do.
And that was supposed to be a short bio. It seemed like it was really long. I'm sorry.
Well, I assume that's short for you because you've got so much going on. And I'm just going to read the beginning of an email that I sent to Betska, because when her book arrived, even though I had 5 books to read ahead of hers, I had to jump right into it. What you and Katie have done is so unique and so attractive as a publication with all that artwork that I'm in awe. Such a labor of love and such attention to detail. So I have to tell you that why I was so enthusiastic about this book isn't just about the content that coaches you through a healing process, but it's just a delight to read and to look at, because there is so much artwork and personal creativity within the framework of this book. Betska's got artists from Romania, Canada, Australia, and India, as well as the U.S. So I'm going to have her tell us her spiritual journey story, and then we'll get into some of the fascinating things in this book. So Betska, the mic's all yours.
Thank you so much, Bob. Well, my spiritual journey, I guess my whole life has been a spiritual journey, as has yours been. And I'll just give you a few snippets.
Okay.
Because as a healer coach today, working in 50-plus countries and then teaching people healing methodologies, we know that the #1 challenge that people have is healing their traumas. The trauma from their childhood, from their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, right?
Yeah.
People have traumas. And so my first trauma was when I was in the womb. And my mother was very pregnant, and one of the men from the village, I'm assuming in a drunken state, started punching her in the stomach. And that punching was so severe that, you know, the baby could have died. I could have died, you know. So that's the first trauma that I encountered. And when you think about a young baby, you know, in the womb being punched, so their psyche immediately says, this world is not a safe place to live in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, incredibly difficult. And you know, why would this baby even want to be born? Okay. And then at the age of 3, I was sexually touched by the village priest. They're not supposed to do that kind of stuff, but he did. And then at the age of 7, my mother's brother, again, sexually abused me. And that wasn't the most difficult part of that trauma. The difficult part of the trauma was, again, as a 7-year-old, excuse me, I went to my mother and I told my mother about it, and I'm crying, and she wouldn't believe me. And so when a 7-year-old has that kind of trauma, where do they go? They go to their mom, right? They go to the dad, but in those days, the mom was the one who was the most accessible. And so I was devastated. My heart just shut down because my mother didn't love me enough to listen and believe me. She believed her brother, not me. So that's that trauma. And then, of course, I was in the corporate world for many years working in international companies, and I watched the men get promoted over me, even though in those days I felt I had an equal talent, maybe even more creativity than they did. And the list goes on. So some of these are bigger traumas than other traumas, but here's another example. When I was in, I think, grade 5 or 6, I was eating my lunch at school, paper bag lunch, sitting in my desk, and this young man who sat beside me decided that it would be funny to blow up a paper bag and smash it behind my head when I wasn't looking, you know. So that freaked me out, you know, when someone blows a paper bag. And to this day, and I'm still healing on this, I was thinking about this a couple of days ago, that I have these fears of being attacked or of people doing nasty things to me. I've done a lot of healing on it. There's some remnants there. That's okay. Which kind of leads me to the point that one of the reasons why I wrote I Heal Me is because most of us will have some conscious memories around our traumas, and others won't. And those of us who are conscious about them, what do we do with them? You know, how do we heal them? And those who are not conscious, that makes it even more difficult for them because they buried them. And when it buries them, then they can suffer great illness. I'll give you an example. One of my clients had Parkinson's. And so I invited him to come and have some sessions with me. And he wanted support, so he brought his wife, which was very nice. And when we went in, and by the way, he couldn't drive anymore. He had trouble walking, had trouble even picking up a blanket. You know, his hands were, you know, la, la, la. And so we did that very first session showed him a lot because he was of Asian descent, and we took him back to his childhood to find the root cause of his Parkinson's. And it was because living in mainland China, there were a lot of restrictions. You had to wear the communist garb, you had to, toe the communist line and so on. And his parents were so tortured by what was happening, they didn't have time to really love their son. So he never really got motherly love or fatherly love. It was mostly about his mother. So do you know what happened, Bob? It was so fascinating. Just that, I think it was just one session. I have to go back on my notes, but it was not a lot, 1 or 2 sessions max. And that gentleman started to walk again. He started to drive again. He had arm control and so on and so forth. So I'm just using this as an example of he didn't even know he had that in him. He had no idea what was causing his Parkinson's, and we found it and we eliminated it. Now, a few years later, it came back. And so I observed that, and I said to him, "Sir, I think it would be a good idea if you came back for more." He never did, and then he passed because he was older at the time. He passed, and he never came back. But that just shows you how difficult how hidden some of our traumas really are. So now I'd like to fast forward to when we had our daughter. 1990 was when she was born. I was a senior executive in an international company in Canada. And after our daughter was born, I went bankrupt emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, and physically. Thank God, not financially, right? And so my brain went foggy. I had incredible back pain. I could barely get out of a chair. And it must have been my prayers that were answered, because I tried a lot of things like acupuncture and shiatsu massage and homeopathy. And those things just kind of helped me coast a little bit, but they were not healing the root.
Yeah.
You see? So then this lady named Jan Remington came along. She's long gone to heaven, but she opened my heart, opened my eyes to subconscious coaching, to the deepest healings in our auras. And so she gave me 2 sessions or so. The third session, it just blew my mind. And I'm a corporate executive, right? And I'm experiencing all this, and I'm going, whoa. But the benefits were so huge. So I said, "Jan, can you teach me how to do this?" She said, "Yes, I have a course in July. Be there." So I signed up, and I was there. I learned, I cried. And then those tools that she taught me, I went home, and our daughter was very young. And our daughter and my husband, John, were fast asleep, and I would bring out my tools. And for an hour and a half to 2 hours every night, I went into my subconscious to clean it out. I wanted to find out what was causing my brain fog, my lower back pain. And Bob, the lower back pain completely disappeared and never came back. And the brain fog was also fine. And then I was cleaning myself out, and people started to knock on my door. This is the story I want to really tell. They said, "Betska, we've watched you heal yourself and clean up your stuff. So can you do that for me?" I said, "I don't know. We can try." So they came, and Bob, I didn't charge a dime for that. I charged nothing for it until my husband, after many months, my husband came to me and he said, "Betska," he said, "I really appreciate all the work you're doing and helping people," because the people were, it was a revolving door. Not quite, but, quite a few people coming. And he said, "But we have a mortgage to pay." so do you think you could start charging people? And that was the beginning of my career as a healer coach. Back then, I just called myself a coach. Today, I am a spiritual healer and a coach. So, and then from there, because I kept cleaning out the subconscious, and believe me, Bob, there is like, I've got files this thick of how much I've cleaned myself out. I started to develop all these new healing methodologies. And even now, I've got a brand new set coming out March the 3rd. We're launching a brand new healing system that has higher frequencies, and I welcome anyone to come and learn it. So anyway, once we clean out our subconscious, more of our genius shows up is my main point.
Yeah. So it's interesting that your healing methodology for trauma has to do with cleaning out the subconscious, when a lot of healing methodologies, and I've been introduced to these and followed them and practiced some myself, are more physical, and it with the thought that trauma is stored in the body and in the fascia and in places that we need to release it from. And then we get those chakras aligned and the energy flowing, and all of that helps. So how does that relate to cleaning out the subconscious?
Good question. Okay, so our research shows that the memories are stored primarily in the cells in our chakras, right? The memories are stored. In fact, in intense meditation, one day I was shown where those memories are actually stored. They're stored in the receptors of the cells in charge of our trauma. So, for example, if someone's having trouble communicating with their husband or wife, whatever, then there are cells in the body that are in charge of that communication. And it could be maybe here in the throat chakra, which is communication, but it could also be in the lowest chakra because of some trauma that they experienced. So what we do is we can go into we ask the client to actually find it, because our system is so scientific and it works every time. The client will show us where in their body the cells are blocked, where the trauma is, and then we find the root cause. When did those cells shut down? They don't 100% shut down because they're still living. But they have shut down because of the emotions that are trapped. And Dr. Candace Pert taught us that years ago, right? That the emotions are stored in the cells. So we find the pattern, the behavioral pattern that the client is repeating. And it could be, for example, when someone disapproves of their behavior, they get angry. Something like that, right? It can be anything.
Yeah.
So we find the pattern that they've been exhibiting their entire lifetime, and then we rewrite their belief system. And the key is that once we have a belief system such as, I, Betska, am now an enlightened human being, right? Instead of someone who kowtows to authority or whatever, I'm now an enlightened human being. Then we take the client into their superconscious, into their God self. So the healing method we use is done by the divine. And so we go into the superconscious, those emotions that are trapped in the receptors are released. So then the physical part of us starts to get better. So does the emotional, spiritual part of us also get better. So our program is left brain, right brain, conscious mind, subconscious mind, and superconscious mind. The divine does the healing. And it takes the ego out of our work, actually, if God's doing all the healing, right? Yeah.
So when you say we take the client into their superconscious,
how do we do that?
Is that through a guided meditation, or how do you do that?
Good question. Okay, so first of all, the coaching healing methodologies that we have, there are 80 of them on this sheet. And then the ones that take us into our superconscious are on the back of the sheet, and there's another 40 of them on here. And the healer coach selects the right methodology to take the client into the superconscious based on the frequency of their issue. So why would we have 40 methodologies to take the client into the superconscious? So we have to test, and we test to see which of those methodologies best fits the client's trauma or situation at this moment in time. And we use our pericardium to test. Pericardium is the acupuncture point on the top of this digit. So we teach our coaches how to select the methodology that will release the emotions and take the client into their superconscious, and the superconscious gives them the best solution that they need at that moment in time. There could be several.
Yeah.
And so it's a very thorough science. The physical body, the cells are released of that negative emotion and negative frequency, and then the client is taken into the superconscious for solutions. Of course, the healer coach might have some ideas too, but the best ones come from their divine self.
Yeah. So this, I guess I'm picturing this corporate executive who's on this track of a pretty high-flying business career. And this person who's sitting in front of me, who is on this spiritual path and into spiritual healing. So how did we get from one to the other? And, I'm assuming, well, I read your book, so, but there, just to let the audience know that, there had to be a transition here. And then part of the question is, did you begin to apply some of that spiritual awakening person to that corporate person? And was there a total mismatch, or were you able to put the two together? So that's more than one question, but see what you can do with it.
So you're talking about me being corporate and then being the healer coach, right?
Right.
Well, God has her ways of waking people up, right? So,
and a sense of humor.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Tremendous sense of humor. I think because I was born left brain dominant, right? Analytical, and as a corporate exec, you have to be that way. Jan taught me how to open up my right hemisphere. And then once you open up that right hemisphere, which is about creativity, relationships, connection to spirit, etc., right? Once you open that up, oh my God. And she just kept working with me. And then I just took off after that. She taught me a few things, and then I just took off after that. And that saying that proof is in the pudding? Mm-hmm. So when, I was doing those initial healing methods and my back pain went away and never came back, like, that's pretty amazing, right? And then the brain fog went away, and I just kept getting stronger and stronger. Here's a really cute story. I was working with Jan one day, and I was so angry at my husband, John. And I have a wonderful husband. We've been married 34 years or something like that. And I wanted to work on the fact that my husband was a lousy communicator.
Okay. Always fix the other person first, right?
Exactly. So she's, working with me and listening to my pain and how John is a lousy communicator. And then partway through the session, she pointed out the law of the mirror. What you see in someone else is also in you. So she said, so Betska, the law is always perfect. So how are you also a lousy communicator? Well, you have to laugh, right? I mean, okay, so, we worked it out, and she changed my beliefs around communication with my husband. And it really humbled me, because our egos get in the way, don't they? Our egos get in the way, and it's so easy to blame someone else. One of the number one issues in corporate and government today is we judge others. We discriminate. We blame them instead of looking at ourselves. We have to change that, Bob, because it's not working anymore, is it? To blame others. So anyway, we finished the healing session, and she took me into my superconscious, and of course I got some solutions. And when my husband came home after he'd done some cleaning up, I said, honey, can we have a chat? And he said, sure. So we sat on the couch. And Bob, I opened my heart, and I apologized to him for even thinking that he was a lousy communicator, that he was the problem that we were having in our marriage. And he's a very smart guy, and he could see. I told him what Jan had taught me about the mirror law and so on, and it changed our marriage. And Jan was able to take me back through my childhood to find out there were so many issues that I had to heal around communication, because my parents didn't communicate well between them. So I took on that pattern, right? And the list goes on. So it's a very sweet story of when we have an issue, it's so worthwhile to work with a healer coach. And then you can go inside and quickly find, you don't have to sit on a couch or lie on a couch for months on end, right? This method zooms in very quickly to find out, because it's a science, right? It zooms in very quickly to find out what the issues are. So
Yeah.
Good story, huh?
Yeah. 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 Anybody listening to this who's married should take note of this this mirror. Okay, I'd like to get into your book a little bit. So let's first talk about Katie Tran, and how did you meet, and how did you decide that you were going to work together on this book?
Well, Katie became a student at her school, so she came to learn how to be a mind kinetics coach, and then she hired me to be her private coach. And then somewhere in that journey, she said, Betska, I'd like to write a book about my journey. I said, okay. And she said, can you help me? I said, okay. I've written many books, blah, blah, blah. And so we started, and I thought I was helping her write her book, and it ended up that we were writing it together. So, and I guess that was divine intervention, that, I was supposed to be the lead author, and but it was so important for her to tell her story.
Right. In fact, it leads off with her story.
Exactly.
And that's a grabber, audience. If you want a book with a grabber right at the beginning,
yeah,
Katie's story is it.
So what did you learn from her story, Bob? I'm curious. How did it grab you, or what did it teach you? Or
Well, I guess I'm a bit of an empath, so I, you know, I just felt what she was going through, and it didn't matter to me that she was female. The gender didn't matter because I could just feel, the trauma and I guess the experience. She is so good at describing the experience that I lived it with her.
Very good.
So, when I say that story grabbed me, it grabbed me because I was there with her on that journey, and I felt it, and just thought, okay, if this is, and it brought me to tears.
Yeah.
If that's what this book is going to deal with, then I want more.
Yeah. Exactly. Didn't you love the story of where she got separated from her parents?
Oh,
and
geez.
this is in the war, right? In the
Yeah.
Vietnamese, Cambodian, all that whole war thing. They were running away, and her family was running away so that the father would not be conscripted into the army and la la la. Oh, and she ended up riding a water buffalo, and she got separated from her parents. She was just a young girl.
Right.
And then the whole miracle story about how the mother was so concerned and she prayed to Buddha. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
She prayed to Buddha and she said, please, bring my child back. And divine intervention again, when we pray. That's the other thing I've learned in my journey, the power of prayer. We need to really be sincere in our prayers, and then miracles happen. It's actually, I think I get people, Bob, who come to me and say, I don't know how to pray, Betska. I say, okay, I can teach you. Very simply, let's learn how to pray, And it's almost like our churches have forgotten to tell them, like they'll recite the Lord's Prayer if you're a Christian, or one of the sutras if you're a Buddhist or whatever, but that real deep, sincere prayer, we've lost that art, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's Katie. And then there was Jan Sweeney. So how did that come about? And what was her influence?
Oh my God, her influence is huge. She was divinely sent, I tell you. So you remember back to my story of I was a corporate executive and back pain and foggy head, etc. Right. And I tried everything. And then a friend of mine, his name is Ken Jackson, he's an incredible Canadian artist. And he phoned me up and he said, I went to this amazing workshop on the weekend led by Jan Sweeney, and you need to go and see her. I said, okay. He didn't pull any punches. So I called her up. I trusted him, and that's how the journey began. Was Ken introduced me to her, and then I had 2 sessions, and then that third session, I said, I want to learn how to do this stuff. And how that came out of my mouth, Bob, I don't know. Corporate executive, left brain, right?
Yeah.
But something had happened in 2 sessions to start opening up this right hemisphere of mine to make greater connection to my spirit. Yeah. And she wasn't in my life for too many years, but she made the trek to Ottawa, Canada, where we were living at the time, actually in Stittsville, and to continue to teach me to go into the subconscious mind to find out what's really hidden. So this is why I said at the beginning, we don't know what's inside our subconscious mind. We may be having unhappy lives, or maybe we're somewhat happy, but God knows we could be manifesting disease in our bodies.
Right.
But we don't know it, So that's why it's important to have a healer coach who knows how to go in there. What have you got to lose? You got nothing to lose by taking a look at who you are on the inside.
Yeah.
And we actually just launched, co-president John just sent an email out today to our people who follow us on our database, and it's a brand new assessment. It's called Happiness in 7 Areas of Your Life, and it's a free tool. So you can go to our website, coachingandleadership.com, and it'll take you about an hour. And so Happiness in 7 Areas of Your Life is the name of it. It's on our store, I believe. I think that's where he put it. Anyway, you'll find it. And it takes you on a journey of your life, and it starts to open things up. So you start to have memories about, that this thing happened. One common thing that I see in my practice is bullying. A lot of bullying happened. Men, boys bullying girls, girls bullying boys, etc., and people being abusive of each other. And even today, Bob, you look at the politics in the world. Political leaders are bullying each other. They're not being very kind to each other. So, So getting back to Jan, she was. Without her, Bob, I would not be awake today.
Yeah.
And then she introduced me to Supreme Master Ching Hai, who is a fully enlightened spiritual teacher. And Katie and I refer to her in the book from time to time because she was greatly responsible for the awakening of both of us. And she taught us the Kuan Yin method of meditation, which is minimum 2.5 hours a day. And just how to lead a noble life. So the 5 precepts, if you will: do not kill. That's why we're vegans. We don't eat any sentient being, no animal. And do not lie, cheat, steal, that sort of thing. So
what makes that meditation different, other than the fact that it's 2.5 hours, which is quite a commitment?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. What makes it different?
Yeah.
Is because she's fully enlightened. She's really our telephone line to God, and that's who she is. I like that expression, So what she does is, and this is such a sacrifice of these masters. She's not just a spiritual teacher. She is a spiritual master. So during my initiation and the initiation of everyone who gets initiated, and it's all free of charge. She doesn't take a penny from anybody. In fact, she gives us money, right?
Oh my!
I know. Oh yeah, she is fully evolved, So she erases a lot of your stored karma. So karma from past lives or your childhood. A lot of that karma is erased, and then she leaves you with enough to work on this lifetime. And it took me 2 weeks after that to really feel it, but I felt light as a feather. And I've never gone back to that feeling of heaviness. And then she teaches us on the inside. So if you have a question, you write it down on a piece of paper, you go into meditation, and before you know it, the answer's there. So she really is that telephone line to God. And now the thing with spiritual masters is people think that, they're going to go and look up Supreme Master Ching Hai, or they'll look up, Kirpal Singh or whomever, any of the wonderful masters we've had over, many centuries. And we don't, as humans, we don't choose the master. The master chooses us. So it takes the ego out of it.
Yeah.
So that lady changed my life. I've been with her since 1997. It's hard to even share how this relationship that we have with such a divine being can help us to raise our children, to help us with our businesses, to help us learn how to ride a bike or work in the garden, or it's whatever, you know. And it's a tough life.
Yeah.
People have tough lives. Even the really wealthy people have tough lives.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Thank you for asking about her. She really is. I have no words. You can see I'm tongue tied with her because
Yeah.
she helps so many millions and millions of people on this planet. It's amazing, and doesn't take a penny, not a single penny.
Yeah. Well, you've helped a few yourself.
Yes, I have. Yeah, that's true.
You have. In fact, some people call you the guru coach.
Yeah. By the way, where we got that from was on my many trips to India. Actually, the first time I went there, I was speaking at a conference. They were giving me some international award, and this media guy comes up to me and bows down to my feet, and like with the intention to kiss my feet. And I didn't understand at the time that it's an Indian custom to honor, your elders, if you will. But anyway, that was the first time, and then our students just started to call me the guru coach. And I was so shy, Bob, to take that on as a moniker. I was just, like, oh no, because that means I'm going to go into ego or something. But after a while, I was just, I had to be Betska the guru coach. So that's how it kind of stuck. Yeah.
So I'm getting a sense of the different connections that you made and what's been poured into this book. So let me take us back to the artists who are featured in this book, because
yes.
you've got artists from 5 different countries.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious as to how that came about. Did you did you contact a bunch of people and say, would you submit something that relates to this topic? Or did you already know these people and identify a piece of work that they had done that worked for you? Or what's the story behind all this wonderful artwork that's in this book?
It's very beautiful work. Well, some of these people are my clients, some of them are students, and one of them is my hairdresser.
Okay.
So she was doing my hair one day, and I said, "Look, Laura, she does incredible work, Bob. She takes pieces of driftwood or wood and carves them with fire, kind of thing. I forget the real name for it." And it's breathtaking. She just does incredible work. So my husband and I both go to her for haircuts, and so he's sitting in the chair, and I'm looking at all the pictures on her iPad of ones that she's already carved.
Yeah.
So I selected the ones that could go in, and then Sita from India is one of our coaches and a client, and this lady is so talented. I mean, the Indians do amazing things with color and beads and sand, and she makes all these beautiful dolls, and like, oh my God, I don't know where she gets. I mean, it's all divinely guided. And then the gentleman from Romania, he was a student of ours, and he's great. And one of our instructors, Shandora, she's a poet, and then the lady who actually did all the design work in the book, she's from Australia, and she submitted something, and then I think her daughter or somebody in her family submitted. So it just kept mushrooming. Oh, yeah. And one of my dear clients, we haven't even talked about him yet. His name is Gavin Watson. And Gavin tried for years to heal his schizophrenia. And as you know, schizophrenia is a huge mental illness. And he ended up in mental institutions a couple times. And he, in the book, he says right at the front, you know, he tried counseling and therapy and psychiatry. And he said, those helped me a little bit. But the person who helped me the most was Betska K-Burr. So essentially now, Bob, when you see this young man, you would not know that he had schizophrenia. You wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
It healed, but it had to heal at a very deep level, the deepest level. Yeah. So, whew, he's quite the guy. So he submitted a piece of his artwork. So it's in the book. So you've got, and we have a child. I think she was 9 when she submitted her story, her piece of artwork, and so it's delightful. Just it felt, you know, like when people think about healing themselves, they think, oh, it's going to be an emotional journey. No, it does not have to be a real emotional journey. It's really about intellectual understanding. And if you want to cry, by all means do. But it's more about understanding why certain cells in your body have shut down, or why, you know, you have this certain problem in your life, or why you can't achieve a certain goal. It could even be inability to master your time. That can be traumatic, right? So anything in any areas of your life, you can go in and find out what's stopping you. And so healing like this can be excuse me, a little traumatic. So I wanted the artwork to lift people's spirits. That's what excuse me.
Well, it certainly does that. And one of my favorites is something from you, your poem, In My Daughter's Eyes. That is so beautiful.
I know. Our daughter is delightful. We're very blessed to have her. I was getting on in age when she was born, and she taught me a lot. I mean, that's what children come into our lives to teach us, don't they?
Oh yes. I've got a grandchild who's 17 months old right now. And
how exciting.
She was just at our house last night again, and such a joy.
Yeah.
And she's such a teacher, and she knows she is. I mean, she just says, sit. She requires you to sit beside her.
Well, you know, Bob, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead, finish your story.
No, that's all right. That was all.
That's another another piece to this whole thing. The children that are born, you know, we've heard about, you know, the crystal children, the diamond children, you know, we hear about all those. The children that are coming up like your grandchild are star seeds. Many of them are star seeds. So
right.
Are you familiar with that term?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But for my audience, go ahead and
oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Talk about it.
Well, star seeds are people who come to planet Earth from other planets to help this planet heal. Now, you can imagine these star seeds coming from some, you know, very evolved planet, and they come into the dense darkness of this planet, right? Where there's, you know, rape and drugs and prostitution and war and violence and all of these poor kids. They're suffering. Many of my clients right now are star seeds because we have to give them their joy back because it's being whipped away in this nasty, dark, energetic world, right? And so that's a big part of our new healing system that we're launching in March. No, we're launching it now. It's being taught in March starting. That there are people like that who feel stuck in this world, and they can be as young as 3, 4, 5 years of age. They can also be, in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and they are star seeds, but they came early to really help shake this planet up, right? And so I just wanted to mention that a lot of these children are very evolved, but they're getting caught up in the nastiness, greed, power, money of this planet, and we need to help them to reconnect to their greatness that they came with. Yeah. So very important. I'm glad we're talking about it.
So these processes that you use, I guess my own personal major physical issue is essential tremors. Now, I've worked with some people on these, and they've been identified as coming from a prior lifetime.
Okay.
So I guess my question is, how does your process deal with traumas that are not of this current lifetime?
Yeah.
Or does it?
Oh, it does. We absolutely need to. Yeah. We can go into prior lifetimes. We can also, let's just leave it at that. In the past, we didn't worry about past lives because we knew that when a child is born, they're bringing a lot of those patterns with them anyway.
Right.
So let's deal with the patterns that they're exhibiting this lifetime. But with the new healing system, we are looking at major traumas that happened before that in past lives that they're now exhibiting. Now, this new system has to have higher frequencies. And so every methodology, every tool that we're using is coming in with their higher frequency than we've ever had before, even with the mind kinetics that I've been talking about, higher frequencies and based on light. So light, sound, we bring in angels, we bring in crystals, light and sound therapy, just a whole raft of vehicles that are needed to heal the traumas and whatever else is going on. So in the past, it would have been difficult or not as easy to heal those tremors, but today we have the tools to do that. I'm so excited about it. I can hardly wait to teach it. And believe me, I've had to be a real student of it as well. I am learning, right? So, but thank God for, other teachers and my meditation practice, because without it, it's called the Mind Kinetics Healing System. It would not have been born without that intense work.
Yeah.
I've had to do a lot of my own healing, lots and lots and lots of it. Yeah. So it's a very exciting journey, Bob.
It sounds that way. Okay. As much as we could talk for another hour, our time has come to an end, almost. I know that you've watched one or two episodes, so you know what's coming. That I'm going to ask you at this point to leave our audience with a few words of wisdom. I know your book's full of them, so this should be easy for you.
Okay.
As long as your voice is holding up here.
Let me wet you right on.
Yeah. So it's good to have water handy.
Yeah. The thought that's coming to my mind is my husband put this Valentine sticker on the door of my office. I've got these beautiful French doors going out to our garden, and it says hugs and kisses. And what a wonderful gift to give ourselves on Valentine's Day, to hire a healer coach, preferably from the Mind-Kinetics team. And also to come in, just like I went to Jan and Jan taught me, and then I was able to help myself, to heal myself. We encourage your audience to come sign up for our new healing system that starts March the 3rd. And it's not one of those courses where you have to be there for hours and hours on a day. We spread it out, and because we want you to practice. Practice on yourself, practice on others. So we need to give ourselves the gift of love. Loving ourselves. And then what happens is, as we love ourselves, we start to project an aura of a beautiful pink aura. And that aura also helps others heal. So what a gift, huh?
What was that last comment? I missed it.
Oh, that's okay. That the more we heal ourselves, we change our aura. Our aura becomes more pink and more loving, and some violets and, higher chakra colors. And when we heal ourselves.
I thought you threw a question at me. That's all.
Oh, no. So
Okay.
The more we can heal ourselves, the more we heal the people in our environment. It's just a natural thing, just changing the energy field around us. And I've got so many stories to tell about that, but it's just, I invite each of you to give yourselves the gift of love and do a lot of this inner healing, because the more we love ourselves, the more we can love others. Bottom line.
And I just want to mention another plug for the book is that the book does give instruction on how to love yourself. So if you're saying, oh, that's something I could never do, I can love other people, but never myself, the book will give you the key to self-love. And that is so important as the place to begin.
In fact, there are 22 healing tools in that book. Yeah. And they're all free. And another one, a free gift from our company, is www.thebrainwalk.com. Thebrainwalk.com. Go in there and it'll take you into your subconscious in minutes. And in 15 minutes, you're going to have a solution to your challenge. I mean, there's only so much of us to go around here, right? So we've developed a lot of these free tools and we give them away. So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Bob, you're a delight. Thank you for what you do for this planet. Oh my gosh, the best interview ever.
Well, I'm just providing what I was told to provide. When you open your mind and you listen to the instructions, you just got to do it. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us. You're doing wonderful work. What a gift to the world you are.
Thank you, sir. And you have a wonderful trip to Bali. Yeah.
Thank you. As always, take what you've heard and incorporate into your life what it is that resonates with you. Put the rest on the shelf until you're ready to deal with it. And until next time, this has been your spiritual journey.